It's your girl Mariahsincere, and I'm back with another video. But before I get started, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so that my video can get circulated across these YouTube streets. Okay, y'all, let's talk about it. Love and Basketball. Y'all, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. And chances are, if you black and you grew up in the 90s, this is one of your favorite movies too. Okay. So let's talk about it. I actually started talking about a similar subject to this in my last video, where I basically was saying, like, even under the right conditions, even when it's compatible, it makes sense, it look like it go together, it's just very difficult to make a relationship come together. And I was thinking about Love and Basketball because I love this movie. Okay, Monica is one of my favorite characters, and I'm gonna get into why later. But and I said this is a perfect example of two people who were trying to date on their level, and it just took a long time for it to come together and almost did not work out. Now, in recent years, people have made Q the villain. Okay, y'all remember we used to love and Basketball. We thought it was so romantic. And then the gender wars started happening. And what did we start seeing on the internet? Monica should have did better. And that Love and Basketball was not romantic. Q, she chased Q for all these years. And he played her to the left and did her dirty. And was just a complete butthole. And finally, she got him in the end, but that was not no prize. She should have walked away. Okay, I mean, this is what we're hearing, and I'll admit, you know, when I first heard, you know, the reasoning behind why people felt that way, I was like, yeah, you know, Quincy kind of was trash at times. His behavior was very much giving trash bag behavior. I'm not gonna front. But at the same time, I like that the movie was super realistic, and he would, in my eyes, he was not the villain, and Monica is not the doormat that people are making her out to be. Okay, and also I just want to say this about that movie, like Monica in that movie, like she was such an inspirational character to me, because this was a woman who, like, from a young age, she was gonna run that clock down. Okay, she never gave up on anything she wanted. She never said, okay, I'm just gonna give up even though there are still minutes on the clock. Like, she always gave everything that she wanted to do, her absolute best, until she couldn't give anything anymore. Okay, and I'll never forget that quote in the movie where she told her mom, chances are there's still a chance. So every time that I'm like, and I say this mantra in my head literally like every day when I'm completing a difficult task or something that I want to give up on, I remember her, I remember this movie, and in my head I tell myself, chances are there's still a chance. And that's what helps me push through. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. Now, let's talk about the dynamic between Monica and Q. Now, first of all, these people, both of them are very egotistical. Okay, we see that at the beginning of the movie. You know, Monica has something to prove because she's a girl, and she's a girl that's good at basketball, likes to play basketball, so she needs the acceptance of the boys. Okay, she needs the acceptance of her family, that she's not this girly girl, she wants to play ball. So she's having to move in her ego a lot, okay? Versus, and it's not something that people take well to, okay? Because it's not something that's societally acceptable for women to be egotistical. But she had to be that way because, again, she's outside of the box. She's this tomboy and she likes to play basketball. Then you have Q. Now, honestly, in my opinion, it's a wonder this relationship even came together, and that he did not turn out to be this full-blown dogging her out cheater, because he grew up in a home where his dad was a basketball player, okay? And I will say this, a lot of people thought his dad was trash, but I honestly feel like for the time period that they were in and the values that he tried to instill in his son, I understood when, you know, him and Q was getting into it and he was trying to explain to Q like, hey, these women, they're beating down your door trying to get to you. Okay? And if you think about those odds, like every city you go to, every place you can't even go to the bathroom without a chick hiding in the bathroom. Like, do y'all know how hard it is to be that tempted as a man and fight that temptation off every day, every minute of your life? I think unless you've been in that position, you can't really judge that man for the decisions that he made, because most people would fold. Okay, most people would fold, including women. Okay, a lot of women. If you the type who, you know, I ain't even gonna go into that. But I understood what he was saying. I really do. So you got this young boy who is growing up under his father's shadow. He's expected to be this big time basketball player. Even from high school, these girls are throwing it at him. Okay, throwing it at him. Now, a lot of people's criticism of Q is that he ain't really like Monica until later on. But if y'all remember at the beginning of the video, the movie, he did like her. He tried to go with her. But these are two people with big egos. And Q, he thought he was going to control the situation. And they get into it, they bump heads, and it didn't go anywhere while they were young. Which is a good thing, because they were both egotistical and immature. Sometimes things don't work out when you want them to work out because they don't need to, okay? Both of these people had a lot of growing up to do, okay? Hence why they was fighting in the front of the yard, okay, over a bike ride. Now, you fast forward, again, we in high school. Q got all these girls throwing it at him because they think he's going to be in the NBA, okay? And then you got Monica, who's focused on basketball. And she been in love with him this whole time and talking bad about the girls who are, you know, sending it through the mail, as she says. But, you know, this whole time ain't kept it real and told him, hey, you know, I really like you. And I understand, because she's in her ego and he's dealing with his ego. Again, it's not coming together because both of these people are egotistical, okay? So then, of course, you know, we have to dance. Monica finally decides to give in, wear a dress, get cute. And then we see, okay, actually, Monica's just as bad as the rest of these chicks that are throwing it at Q. Okay, she just don't be caring like that because she's focused on balls. But she's just as bad. So he sees it. He kind of sees her in a different light now because, you know, she gave him something to look at. And then, boom, we know what happened that night. They end up getting together, going to college. Again, they're in a situation in college where a lot of girls are throwing it at him. She's a basketball player. And, you know, a female basketball player. Dudes ain't throwing it at her like that. They're not coming at her in the same way. Why? Because they probably assume that she's playing for the other team. Okay? And again, she's super focused. Okay? She doesn't have that pressure to mess around. Versus you have somebody like Q, to even just have a girlfriend and you're on the basketball team, dudes will probably be talking about you, calling you lame, encouraging you to cheat on your girl. Like, it's just a completely different dynamic, okay? So this thing happens. He finds out his father is a cheater. He gets all in his feelings and expects Monica is gonna miss her curfew to listen to him and his problems. Now, this is where I understand sometimes when men say that women don't really care about their feelings that much, because I feel like when we're having this dialogue, people are not really admitting how devastating that would be. You know what I'm saying? For a young boy who idolized his father, this is his hero. He thinks his dad can do no wrong. And then you have your whole concept of your father destroyed, okay? With the pictures to look at. This is the man whose footsteps you're supposed to be following. You basically see yourself and your whole identity is wrapped up in your father. And I think we dismiss how detrimental that was to him. Now, I'm not saying Monica should have missed her curfew. I'm not saying he should have, he honestly could have tried to have some understanding, because she did offer to go back to the room and talk. But at the same time, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I ain't never been in that situation that he was in, and honestly, I don't know how I would handle it, okay? That was probably, from somebody growing up with privilege, that was the most traumatic thing he had ever been through in his life, and it was taking a toll on him. So he behaved as an immature person does, and he want to take another girl out on a date, trying to get at her. He's drinking, just doing all type of stuff, and finally he just breaks up with Monica. Okay, a lot of people felt like he was wrong for breaking up with her. I don't feel like he was wrong for breaking up with her. First of all, he wasn't a good person at that time. He was not able to be his best self. He was hurting. Honestly and truly, if he would have stayed with Monica, he would have ended up causing more damage to her. Okay, he was already arrogant, and now you want to just completely act out. You want to be drinking, you want to mess with all these females. He actually did her well by telling her, I don't want to be together, I'm gonna go to the NBA, and it is what it is. And guess who got the worst of Q? All those women that he probably messed with in the NBA, because he was not ready to settle down. He was still going through it emotionally, still harboring anger towards his father. Okay, and y'all never know how people think about things. He might have said, he might have broke up with her because I don't want to hurt you. I'm not a good person to be around right now. Right? But y'all don't see it like that. A lot of people don't see it like that. They see it as he just did her dirty, and he should have never broke up with her just because he was upset about finding out his father was cheating, without fully understanding that when people go through traumatized and stuff like that, they deal with it in different ways. So to me, she dodged a whole lot of bullets, okay, because he was going to be dragging her through the mud. Now, they go about their separate ways. Of course, he does his thing. He's, gets engaged. And what does Monica do? Now, a lot of people are upset because Monica chose to wait on him, per se. And they felt like her life kind of stopped. I didn't actually see it that way. So, to me, her life kept moving. See, a lot of the times, y'all perceive keeping it moving as moving on to the next person. Okay, hopping in, right into the bed with somebody new. And Monica chose to deal with it in a different way. Okay, I'm going to still keep playing ball. I'm going to go play ball overseas. I'm going to give this my best over here. Now, my only criticism I have for Monica is that I wish she would have learned to be happier alone, because you could tell in her scenes when she was by herself and thinking about him that she was, extremely unhappy. But I don't disagree with her deciding I'm not going to date other people, because she had already decided what she wanted. Okay, you hear it all throughout the movie. The girl keeps saying she's been in love with a man since she was 11 years old. Okay, so you can't be mad at sis for saying, okay, I know myself. I know what I want. I don't really think anything else will do, so I'd rather be by myself. Q didn't know what he wanted. She knew what she wanted. And at the end of the day, nobody forced Monica to wait on this man. And that's what everybody gets upset with Q about. And he never asked her to not date nobody, to not move on from him. He made it perfectly clear he was moving on with his life. And of course, we all knew he was going to be dealing with other women. He never asked her to make up her mind about him. That was something that out of her love for him, she chose to do. And this is why I say a lot of the times we make decisions in relationships and you make them and the other person ain't told you to make them, but if it don't go your way, you want to hold them accountable. And that's not fair. Okay, so of course, they both go back to their hometowns. Monica gets the job at the bank. She sees, Q's engaged. And, we know he got hurt. Him getting hurt was a humbling moment for him. Okay? It was a humbling moment. Him talking to his father. Okay? Because he'd been going through all this emotional turmoil. Then you had the situation where, let's not forget, Monica spent all that time looking down on her mother. And her mother had to humble her real quick. Okay? Slapped her up real good. And let her know, I made sacrifices for you. You looking down on me, but I chose to make these sacrifices as a mother. So both of these people throughout these years had to come to their humbling moment. Now, I will say, in my opinion, Q did operate in ego and anger way more so. Monica never really operated in anger, but Q operated in ego, anger, arrogancy, and again, this is to be expected by the child of an NBA star who, from the time you were young, everybody is boosting your head up. So you can't really blame him for that. Now, it is in my opinion that Q, from the moment he seen Monica again, wanted to get back with Monica. I don't think he ever got over her. Let me tell you why. When that girl knocked on his window and said, let me play you for your heart, if he really wanted to marry the girl, the Tyra Banks, the girl whoever Tyra Banks was playing, if he really wanted to marry her, he was sure about that decision, that's what he wanted to do, he would have told Monica, no, I'm going back to sleep. And don't be waking me up with this silly stuff. Okay? He wanted to be stopped. He wanted to be with Monica. Okay? Now, he played her. He indulged it. Part of me feels like he just wanted to kind of get a little bit of aggression out. He probably been holding that in from that time Monica whooped him when they was kids. Who knows? But he was always gonna get back with her. All she had to do at that point was say the word. It's one of them cases of it could all be so simple, but both of y'all got to make it so hard. Okay? So anyways, they end up together. Monica got what she really, really wanted, what she had been wanting. Okay? By this point, Q had been through enough to where he was sure that that is what he wanted. Even though he came to that conclusion later on than she did, it doesn't mean that he's wrong or he's the villain here or that she is some weak woman. Okay? Y'all call women weak because, if they break up with somebody that they really wanted, they can admit that, okay, I still like this person. Or y'all call a woman weak because she don't move on to the next man, and y'all don't know what she could have potentially been saved from, because trying to run from something, you might run into the same or worse than what you were just dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Her choosing to just be still and focus on other things might have kept her from getting her heart broke over and over again by different dudes, okay? Or having babies by dudes she wasn't gonna end up with or didn't really want to be with. Y'all, I sound like I'm taking this so seriously because it is a movie, but like, this is real life, and these are the conversations that people are not having on the internet. So when you get on the internet and you read something like Q is trash because he dogged Monica the entire movie just for us to make it feel like she won some type of prize at the end, okay, on the surface level, yeah, it sounds crazy, right? It sounds wrong. It sounds like Q is trash. But when you really give a deep analysis to both of these characters and the situations that they were going through, this is real life. This is how it happens. Like, relationships are not easy, okay? Again, even with compatible people, which in my opinion, these are people who were compatible, you got to deal with egos. People not knowing how to deal, never seeing a healthy relationship. People seeing their parents be in relationship dynamics that they don't like, and then being afraid to get into a relationship and have that same dynamic. Like, you know, even I feel like Monica, to a degree, behaved in some of the ways she behaved with Q because she didn't want to seem weak like she felt like her mother was. Which is, for example, her not wanting to ride on his bike. So this is real life, y'all. And I thought this was a really fun video to do. I'm going to be talking about in my next video, I'm going to do an analysis of Jenny and Forrest Gump, because it has just come to my attention that there is a whole cult of people who hate Jenny off of Forrest Gump. And it's for similar reasons why people hate Q. But I do want to talk about it because, I mean, there are differing dynamics. I feel like that story is way more complex and needs its own separate video to be fleshed out. So I'm probably going to put that, I'm going to record it today. I'm going to put it out, I don't know, within the next couple of days. I just want to give y'all some time to watch this and digest it. But I also want to make the point, see, you guys, when you start thinking about things like this and not on a surface level, you can't be bitter. You get what I'm trying to say? You can't participate in the gender war. Like, you can't hate men. You can't hate women. You just start seeing as people who are people, and they do the best that they can with the information that they had at the time, and they're going to behave in ways that they were trained up to be. That just is what it is. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night.